October 8, 9:48 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 6. Good morning. So you're Vera, right? I'm Trucy, Trucy Wright. That's Wright with a W, but not Wright, okay? We're on your side. You can tell us anything, please. Good morning. She speaks. Not bad, not bad. But I think you do better with this little smile, you know? You're so pretty. You need to sell yourself, you know? Trucy, let's take it easy for starters. Oop. Huh? Thank you for taking my case. Oh, it's adorable if it wasn't for the fact, very sad, that she can't display her emotions. She has to display them through that. Well then. Okay, well that's a start, I guess. There she goes with the nail polish again. That's great, really, it's so cultured. Want to try? Try what? Oh, really? Girls. The victim, Drew Michon, was a forger, and a stolen painting was found in his studio. A life of crime, really. And maybe one that led to his death. October 8:10 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 3. Wow, this doesn't look any different, and yet this is meant to be like a test simulation. Okay. Well, we'll now, being the trial of Vera Michon. Is the judge okay? His voice is all raspy, and he's looking around all nervous-like. The repercussions of today's trial will most likely be felt for a long time, and may indeed alter our legal system forever. Today is the test of the juris system, and the first step towards a new order in our courts. To that daddy's secret mission. The juris system will function like a jury. It is hoped their inclusion will help the courts be better reflect the people's will. Why aren't there any jurists in the courtroom? 3 closed-circuit cameras watch this courtroom at all times. The jurists have access to everything that transpires. Jurists judge well and judge cool. No, you see here, Prosecutor Gavin. I was going to say that. My apologies, Herr Judge. Oh, jurists, judges, today's trial coolly, if you will be so kind. The jurists are bound by the letter of the law. They don't affect the trial with evidence, but by their feelings. And we're about to find out just what effect they're going to have. Very well, Prosecutor Gavin, the details of the case if you would. The victim of the painter, Drew Michon, he was killed in his own studio. His coffee was poisoned. By whom, you ask? Imagine if Gordo was doing this case. Yes, my coffee was poisoned. Oh wait, I've gone through that before. By none other than the defendant, Vera Michon. There wasn't any poison in the coffee. Action, someone has been doing their homework. Indeed, poison was not present in the coffee, but on the mug itself. Residue was found in the room, I see. The autopsy report describes the manner of our victim's death. The court accepts as an evidence. Alright. According to the report, the victim's death was caused by atracodine poisoning. A chemical compound that does not occur. Naturally, lethal dosage is a mere 0.002 milligrams. Wow. A touch of atracodine is the limit, I guess. The touch of the Reaper's is the touch of the Reaper's scythe. I can't get his voice again. I don't know why I can't remember it. God damn it. I have for you today a simple man for a simple case. A man who witnessed the murder in its entirety. A journalist, no doubt. The bloody weird guy. The witness will state his name and occupation. Ah, right. Well, for starters, my name's Bark Brushel. My job is a lone observer of the world. In other words, a freelance journalist, right? If you don't mind, I'd like to say something for the record. He's going to do the end quote stuff again. I dislike conclusions, specifically the jumping to aspect of conclusions. Preconceptions make park sandbox of endless desert waste. End quote. But you are a journalist. You said so yourself yesterday. Well, that's true, yes. But you must understand, I stand before you today, a man with a dream. I'm offering you my testimony in exchange for the exclusive rights to the story. Scoop turns Mr. Brushel into that Mr. Brushel, end quote. Let's hear your testimony then, shall we? Simple case, Gavin. For me, the jury is still out. Let's do it. Bring it on. I visited the studio around 9 that night to do the interview. The first outsider to enter the Atelier, journalistic history made, end quote. His daughter brought us coffee right after we started. And you know what happened next? Staff halls. No one else entered the room besides her the whole time. Okay. Staff falls. What? I'm guessing you mean like he died? What? That does sound like a simple case. Unless you were the one who poisoned him. Well, what are you saying, Judge? Well, the judge is being smart. Need I remind you, the cameras are rolling today. Feel the need to be a bit more dramatic. Wow. Yes, I am going to shave my beard for the first time in my life and make myself wear pretty clothes. And maybe even get some hair. Maybe a wig with cleavers. Oh yes, Judge. I will rip this off and make a forgery. Why not just add that in there? What's a forgery? Oh, you'll find out later in this trial. You didn't do it, did you? Me do a thing like that? Come on, that's like newsmaker making the news, end quote. Or even contemporary witch hunting, end quote. I know, wild accusations, rock courtroom, end quote. Rock indeed. Prosecutor Gavin sure looks like he's having fun. I'm so happy for him. Very well, Mr. Justice, your cross-examination, please, and make it cool. Bring it on. I visited the studio around 9 that night to do the interview. Sorry, I love this tune. I love all the tune in Phoenix Wright. You can't get any better. Well, I mean, you could get better than it. There's Persona. There's Final Fantasy music. There's Kingdom Hearts music. Okay. I think there's a few others that I'm thinking of, and I just can't think of right now, probably. Night of the Night. Isn't that a little late for an interview? If the great painter Drew Misham says come at 9, believe you or me, yet I go at 9. The first, and as it turned out, last interview was such a prolific painter. Right, can you tell us what it was like when you arrived? The first outsider entered the arteria of journalistic history made, end quote. You were the first reporter ever in True Studios. Posterity will look back on the night as a turning point in journalistic history. A basically insignificant step for all mankind, but a giant step for that Brushel guy, end quote. No one on the outside ever had access to the studio. Then it would serve to reason that the deed was done by an insider. By which he means Vera did it. So how did this epoch-making interview go? Unless, of course, they used that round tin which they give him letters with. I don't know how they could have used it. Poison him, though. If it was on the mug. His order brought us coffee right before we started. Would you mind being a little more specific? Ooh-wee! Ooh-wee! Where do I know that from? Oh, yeah, Rick and Morty. The, what's his face? I forgot his name. He's like, ooh-wee! Ooh-wee, let me tell you, I enjoy a cuppa. In fact, it all began when I was in 3rd grade. No, wait, 4th grade. That's not what I meant. I believe I know what her forehead is driving at. His coffee victim. The victim was served. Did anyone other than the defendant touch it? Right, that's what I was going to say, really. Well, now, if you got a question to ask, you'd best straight up ask it. That's what I tell the new recruits several times if necessary. Right for a grade schooler. That's my motto. Which is... Oh, okay. Who touched the coffee? I don't know. I was in the back looking at the studio's equipment when she served it. And what happened next? And you know what happened next? Starfalls. What's this about a star falling?
Star falls, huh? It's like an old telegram. Send money over. Zoe, you don't know? That's like journalism code. An important personage passes away. Star falls, get it? But there's no gravity in space, is there? I want to think stars could fall, really.
Does this matter?
Boo boo! This is good stuff, good stuff. How about star breaks? Nah, lax punch. I know, star dies. Lax imagination. Of course, you could go with Drew dies. Straight to the point. I like it.
I think we need to hear about something a little more substantial. Star's coffee. You see, Mr. Masham had the coffee too. But did you actually see him drink the coffee?
Of course. He who sees it wins, but he who says it wins bigger. End quote. I live in a man sees dog eat dog and writes about it world.
Man sees dog eat dog and writes about it. Oh, man sees dog eat dog and writes about a world. Okay. I'm like, what? You ate the dog? What? Yet.
I guess I can't say I saw him drink it, really. He had one so-called sip, if that. Man puts lip, thingamajiggy.
That poison is quite virulent, I hear.
My stomach did so-called somersault. Since I'd gulp down the coffee without so much as a second glance at it. Something's there, some kind of so-called trick. Anyone want to venture a guess, for the record?
Does this guy have a pause button? Well, Mr. Justice, did you find that testimony valuable?
Yeah.
The victim drank his coffee, then immediately fell over.
Oh, yes, you can go to press with that one.
Right, this is a vital piece of information. Please add it to the testimony.
There's no walk to my case, sir. Like, isn't it pretty instant?
Very well, the witness will add this to his testimony.
Right.
He had one sip, if that. Next moment he was on the floor. I want to have a look at the coffee mug. Trace the slow act. Oh, slow acting! Oh, okay. You know what I have a problem with? A particular property of the poison used, anthraquinine. Oh, Prosecutor Gavin was quite clear about that poison. The lethal dosage paralyzes the central nervous system. If you drink that, even you, Mr. Justice, would be reduced to a quivering pile. Why are you using me as an example? Fortunately, we weren't told everything. There's a vital omission in Prosecutor Gavin's information. An omission? Anthraquinine is as virulent as he says. But death doesn't come upon ingestion, not immediately. That's because anthraquinine is slow acting. Slow acting? Meh! According to one forensic scientist.
It's one of the most virulent poisons, but it's absorbed into the body astonishingly slowly. It takes at least 15 minutes from the time of ingestion for adverse effects to show.
If we suppose that the moment Mr. Masham sipped the coffee was when he sealed his fate, then he would still have had time left to enjoy his last cup of joe. Order! What's the meaning of this? What the defense says is correct. Why, that contradicts the entire testimony you've just heard. Well, Mr. Brushell, anything to say? On the record?
Slow acting. It was virulent, alright. Even then, it had already been digging its claws into the journalist. He's working on his scoop.
It's Brushell, yeah?
Hey, Brushell. Let's take a trip back down memory lane. Did the victim really die the instant he took the step? Think it over, this is vital.
You know what I think?
I think that was a not-so-subliminal suggestion. End quote. I admit it does cause a problem if he died when you say he died. You will be forced to say, auf Wiedersehen, and you would be forced to say farewell to your article. Come again? You can't write a story based on conjecture, can you? And as the case drags on and other reporters will pick up the scent, and you'll be forced to kiss your exclusive scoop goodbye. Scoop.
What the that looks creepy.
Look, just wait a second. Just wait a second.
We're waiting. Out with it.
I think I just recalled a so-called important thing. Like I always do, like in every single one of these cases, we always remember something right at the end. A revival of recollection, end quote. A story survival, end quote.
Attorney utterly confused, end quote.
Actually, I did notice something when I visited the studio. I heard a poison that takes a sweet time, see? But not what I've been saying for the last few minutes, apparently.
Miss Russell, are you saying you noticed something that explains what happened?
You bet I am. The antidote for a poisonous contradiction. And a quote, you might say.
Or I still have no idea what you're talking about, end quote. I might say.
I figured it out, but only after an in-depth interview. See, thanks to my journalism skills, I know who poisoned that coffee.
Order, order.
As far as I can tell, the witness is standing by his testimony. Now, Mr. Misham died the instant after he drank. Of course I'm standing by my testimony, and my dream of exclusive rights to this story. Ugh, I suppose it was too much to hope for.
What was?
Of course he wouldn't choose a civil case, not him.
Him?
Phoenix Wright, who else?
Oh boy, here he comes.
Actung, Herr Bruschel, report for us if you would. What is it that you noticed?
The court is a critical trial of the juror system. I'm afraid no room for doubt is permissible. You will testify to the court about what you noticed.
When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Misham was at his desk. He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. I thought nothing of it at the time, of course. Now that I think about it, what if he was writing a suicide note?
Suicide note.
Yeah, it was the red envelope, it wasn't a suicide note. Yes, he had a look on his face. Man's face inscrutable as a quadratic equation, end quote. Suicide, poor Mr. Misham. But that means Vera is innocent.
Would someone commit suicide in the middle of an interview?
Oh.
Very well, you may begin your cross-examination. Alright, when I arrived at the studio, Mr. Misham was at his desk. Was there anyone in the studio other than Mr. Misham?
Well, he thought of Vera, of course.
Was anyone besides Mr. Misham and Vera present?
Not a single one, not a cat, not a rat, not even a mouse.
The only person who didn't belong to that studio there was you, wasn't it, Mr. Bruschel?
Ah, I know what you're doing, I know your game. Tony uses classic Ramsey feminine ploy, end quote. If you intend to suggest that this reporter is the suspect, I'm sure you also intend to present evidence supporting the assertion, correct? In the meantime, let's move along, shall we? He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope.
So he put the letter away when he saw you?
Early reporter gets worm, end quote. That's my secret.
I'm not sure I follow.
Scenario of the interview, I arrive 15 minutes ahead of schedule. The hand turns, the door opens, and I barge in.
Are you sure it's okay to do? I mean, isn't that an unlawful entry, really?
Mr. Misham sure seemed to think so. You should have seen him. He crammed his letter into that yellow envelope so fast as he could. I know it's secret when I spot one, and that was one.
It does seem significant. Well, Mr. Justice, I wonder.
It does seem to have the ring of something important. I'll add it to the testimony.
The defense finds the testimony vital, Your Honor. Very well, please add it to the testimony then.
And why not? My account comes free of charge. There's a yellow envelope. I heard it was left at the crime scene. Yeah, it's not that. I'm not even gonna bother doing everything else.
So just so happens, there was a single letter in a desk drawer at the scene. In a red envelope.
What the?
Prosecutor Gavin.
Yes. Did that guy just wreck his face?
I think so.
Is he dead?
Yes.
I guess you win then.
Good. Thank you.
Yes. I don't know what just happened.
Was a yellow envelope found at the scene of the crime?
Unfortunately, no. But hair forehead. It's easy to mistake the color of an envelope.
I guess, but not this envelope. You see, it was postmarked already 7 years ago. Well, Miss Russell.
I can explain that. True. Right, he wanted to get that letter in an envelope. Pronto. Get it out of sight of my beady eyes. So he grabbed the nearest envelope and crammed away.
And what about the whole red and yellow envelope contradiction, chump? Well, Mr. Justice, have you anything to say to the witness's claim?
The night the victim put a letter he had been writing in a red envelope. It's impossible.
That's impossible, because it was already sealed, right?
I like your expression, so full of confidence.
Simple, really. As it just so happens, the defense team investigated the contents of this envelope, with the assistance of a forensic scientist.
What?
Note that this letter is addressed to Drew Misham. Why would he address a letter to himself? Let alone send a suicide note to himself. Oh, okay, that's true.
I've been scooped!
Please stop doing that. Order, order, order! Mr. Russell, can you explain this to the court?
Oh, my, how could I have forgotten? I suppose this happens to the best of us. Reporters get old, forget lots. End quote.
Still waiting for an explanation, Mr. Russell.
Well, that's the thing, see? After he put the letter in the envelope, Mr. Misham... Wait, what? In his desk drawer, what? Yes, a stamp, a so-called postage stamp, end quote.
Stamp? Whatever for?
Well, to veil his letter, what else? And then, why, yes, I think he saw him put it in his letterbox. Yes, it was a yellow envelope, and he put it in that box.
Well, apparently, this yellow letter has nothing to do with the case.
Oh, how I wish it did. Just think if it were that a suicide story, what a story. Star writes suicide note in front of his reporter falls.
Well, as I was saying, it has nothing to do with the case. That's it. Yes, Your Honor. Makes me wonder about the contents of the red envelope. $100,000 is quite a good deal of money.
So this was from 7 years ago, Ja.
So, am I finished?
Here, am I finished here? I was thinking of, you know, going home to start writing. Huh.
I hate to state what should be pretty obvious to anyone, but when you catch the scent of a story, you make that a rather unique face.
Now, come on! Tony is active imagination, little else. End quote.
Even I noticed something, and my eyes aren't even what they used to be. You know, I'm starting to understand what all this perceiving stuff is about. Church has active imagination, end quote. Please continue with your testimony. Tell us about the scent of a story.
Hey, I'm the one asking the questions here. Usually. Actually, it takes a bit work to get thumbs up. Reporter leverages story, gets the interview, end quote. The story concerned a certain case from 7 years ago. The red envelope probably had something to do with it. So say what you will, but Drew's telling was without composure.
So you threatened to go to press with your story. That's how you got your interview. Blackmail.
Well, yes. No. I wasn't exactly
Something wrong, Miss Russell.
Look, this is my story. My tidbit. Journalist info is livelihood, end quote.
I see.
Well, you have me chattering away. What's going on out here? What if some Wally Wordsworth and Sally Scooper gets wind of my story? They could be they could be going to press while I'm going to waste.
The court feels your pain, Mr. Russell. Mr. Justice, let's pick up the pace. Certain case 7 years ago. Wait, 7 years ago? Oh my god! Trucy? I feel like Trucy knows something about it. She's just smiling.
So you took a bit to get work to get a thumbs up on the interview.
Okay. The victim, Drew Misham, had an aversion to reporters.
Boy, I guess not even my considerable charms did much for him. Until I finally got my thumbs up, that is. Maybe you can elaborate on that a bit for us. Reporter leverages story, gets him interview, end quote.
Exactly what sort of story was this?
One little one, like I said. Nothing more, nothing less. Nothing in between. End quote. Well, it suggested I had a lead on this particular story. But I didn't threaten or kajar. Honest.
So a suggestion was enough to get an interview. Mr. Misham must have really wanted to keep it under wraps. Story concerned a certain case from 7 years ago. Certain case 7 years ago. Tell us, what case?
Let me say one thing, Mr. Attorney. You can... something. I can't talk about that case.
Why not?
It's about journalistic pride and staunchness and credibility and connections. Journalists reveal sources only over his dead body. So what'll it be? Gonna strangle me? Dead man, don't tell tales, Mr. Attorney.
He sounds pretty determined not to talk.
Chances of breaking his will aren't looking good.
Yeah, sadly.
Red envelope probably had something to do with it.
On the one thing we have your story, and on the other this letter. What makes you think the two are related?
Oh, I was just thinking it's possible. Call the reporter's intuition, end quote. They say a lot of things. You're going to pick all of them. Be my guest.
All of them, no, just the incredibly suspicious ones. I see anything else to add about Mr. Basham?
Say what you will, but Drew's talent was nothing about compare.
So how amazing was Mr. Basham's talent?
Eh? Ooh-wee, boy, I mean, hey, he's a star, man, a star. The flow of his brush is like a great undulating river across the canvas. Artist paints light up, studio like a sun.
The guy is full of wacky gestures. But that just now was wackier than usual.
He looks kind of nervous to me, Apollo.
Definitely, I'm sensing something different than before here. Maybe it's time to bring out you-know-what.
The testimony left a bad taste in my mouth.
It don't make sense. Nothing just jumps out as ridiculous.
I wonder what the story he's talking about is. It must have been good to get an interview with a famous recluse like that.
Something powerful enough to drag Drew Misham out. I wonder. Maybe it had something to do with Mr. Misham's art. Okay, I feel like I need to use the bracelet. Right here. I have no idea where his weak point is, that's the problem. Wait, what the hell? Was that there before? Oh, whoa! Wait, seriously? That's his spot? Wow, it is. Sweat munch, Mr. Brushel?
Yeah, well, a man can't help his glands, you know.
It's more than that. When Mr. Misham's talent was mentioned, you suddenly began to sweat buckets. You're hiding something about his talent.
What? That's ridiculous.
Evidence time. Showing Mr. Misham's true talent is laying. Just so happens I have evidence showing the talent mentioned in that letter. This? Wait, what am I trying to show? The painting was found in Mr. Misham's studio. Did I move it again? I think I did. I feel like I moved my screen recording because I clicked off the window. Anyway. There were two problems with this painting. First is, it wasn't painted by Mr. Misham. Second is that there was another painting in the studio, which looked exactly like this one, except it was only half done. Then we have a letter discussing a payment of 100,000, which suggests a certain business operation. The business of making forgeries. God damn, that face. I can't. I just can't deal with that face. That is all, Your Honor.
Everyone, please, everyone! Can we keep this private, please? This is my story, my scoop!
Forgery is a serious crime.
Umasham is known as the artist these days, but there were rumors he dabbed in another kind of art until a few years back.
Another art, meaning forgery.
Umasham is talented, alright. Talented at making precise, detailed fakes. A fact that certain criminal elements were quick to discover.
Criminal elements? What? You can't seriously be talking about...
Exactly. I'm talking about forging evidence. The rumors started circulating 7 years ago.
7 years ago? So we don't understand that this letter... This payment of 100,000 was for...
Exactly. What if that's a forgery itself, though? Forged evidence nets tiny profit, end quote.
Order, order, order. Well, it's like our victim was living a double life. This is my chance.
So the victim had ties to the criminal underworld. How could he have... He could have had plenty of enemies we know nothing about. This is my first time hearing of this criminal world. We certainly found no criminal connections when we conducted our investigation.
But how do you explain all this money? We have to admit there's possibility of some illegal activity here.
But there is no proof tying this letter to our case. Our case was and remains simple from the beginning. Only the defendant could have poisoned that mug that night. And you, of course. Hey, the only thing I poison is my pen when I'm writing reviews.
What? Okay. Mr. Brusho, your testimony to this point has been quite reliable. Unreliable. It doesn't speak well for your reporting acumen.
What are you talking about? My journalism is rock solid. Journalism is so solid you can stand an elephant on it. End quote.
Yeah, definitely. Envelope. Not envelope. Elephant. Yeah, definitely. So here's a summarized recap of your testimony. If we can assert in the situation in the studio from the recap, the trial is over.
Bolo, what's he talking about?
Cross-examination showed Mr. Brusho didn't have a reason or means to poison him, as long as there's no other suspects. And the killer had to be Vero, that's what. Next testimony is our last chance. Mr. Brusho, your testimony, please.
The only other person in the studio that I was the defendant. It was Vera who poured the coffee. She admitted as much herself. The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug. And nothing left the studio after he died. Nothing. Clearly the only one who could have poisoned him was his daughter. A nice testimony, clear, succinct, and without room for doubt. Ah, shucks. You really think so?
I believe that clarifies the situation that night. Very well, Miss Justice, you may begin your final cross-examination. I still have one trump card left to play, and I won't let this trial end until I use it. The interview, a recap. The only other person in the studio that night was the defendant. But that doesn't prove Vera poisoned it.
How many times have we heard that one there, forehead? The poison reaches victims via the coffee cup. And from where did that coffee come? Not to beat a dead horse again and again, but perhaps you could fill us in. I'm on it! You need a horse beat? I'm your man. It was Vera who poured the coffee. She's admitted to much herself.
Oh, whoops. Didn't mean to do that.
Hold it!
And you whizzed her pouring the coffee.
Cause I didn't witness it. When she came in with that tray, the coffee was already poured in steaming. Let's not forget the defendant has admitted to pouring the coffee herself. I heard her statement. I poured and served. I served and I killed.
What?
Ha 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 ha. That last part was just a little joke.
I don't think I'm gonna get anywhere with this coffee mug.
And you find another weak spot in this case.
The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug. You sure about that?
Well, to be really, really precise, I was busy gobbling mint candies the whole time.
One of those candies might have been poisoned.
Yet at the time of the autopsy, no fresh fragments of mint filled the room. And no mint residue was found.
It was a long shot anyway.
Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. You think the victim ate a drink or otherwise ingested something other than coffee?
Well, Mr. Justice, if you have some proof.
Possibility is there, I can feel it.
Maybe no prove it. Possibility isn't going to cut it now. Some shaman ingested a poison via a root other than the coffee.
I can prove it, I guess.
Proof is possible, I gotta risk it.
Oh, maybe the frame? The tiny frame? Because there was poison on that? Must I explain this over and over and over? We don't need possibilities here, Herr Forehead. We need proof.
I know that.
You should also know that what every proof has its moment. Perhaps you're a bit early.
I can tell what we know at this point. Victim put nothing to his mouth but the coffee mug. Another hole in this case that needs plugging before I can prove anything. First things first, I better uncover a weak spot before I try to strike again. On with the crisis. Oh, okay.
Really? Sure. I'm just...
No one thing, you sure?
Yep, sure as can be. Well, with one exception.
One exception?
Journalist Spark Brusher does interview. Leave studio. End quote. Come on. It's a joke, get it? Not funny, I know, but still.
Did something leave the studio that night? Why does that sound familiar? Where have I heard something like that before? Now that we're proving our witness is a comedian of sorts. I heard the turn to our defense attorney before return to the testimony. Do you have any idea what if anything might have left the studio?
Yeah, I do. The letter thing, right?
I think one thing might very well have left the studio that night, actually. Sudden something that has vanished from the crime scene. What you mean?
Something other than
our witness?
Of course. Don't tell me. Very Misham.
Believe me, any comic relief I may provide is entirely unintentional. Now let's see what you've got for us, Mr. Justice. Well, this thing wasn't at the scene of the crime, so I can't show you. But I do have evidence that shows how it could have been taken from the scene. From the scene. This is the only link between the studio and the outside world. A letterbox. What did Mr. Brusher just tell us? When he entered the studio on the night of the murder, the victim had just finished writing a letter.
Yeah, I said that, and yeah, it was true.
Furthermore, you went on to tell us that he put the letter in a yellow envelope and put it in that letterbox. Oh! That very same letterbox was empty, in other words. That night, the yellow envelope disappeared.
Ah, yes, intriguing. So an envelope has disappeared from the scene of the crime. Of course, this changes nothing.
Huh? Here's the point, Mr. Justice. What we're trying to figure out here is how the poison got into Mr. Misham. Is it really important that this envelope the witness says he saw disappeared? Well, if it did disappear, then something did leave that studio that night. Seems very important to me. Very well then, the witness will add this to his testimony.
You got it. Still think this fails to change anything, Herr Forehead.
I wouldn't be so sure. The letter disappeared from the crime scene that night. It's exactly the opening I've been looking for.
The letter was put in the post from the studio, but I hardly think that matters.
Alright. Oh, this is new. I pressed statement 3 and said I can prove it again. And now we got new dialogue.
Prove, Herr Forehead, not possibilities.
Of course, Prosecutor Gavin. I hope you understand. I'm ready to give you the proof.
What did you say?
I have proof of the disappearing envelope.
Sir, I'm writing a letter, I did.
Which was picked up by the mailman, I assume. Of course, which means that envelope had a stamp on it. Stamp? Oh. As you know, stamps come with dry glue on the back. In order to use the glue, you have to wet it. By licking the stamp.
Fair. No one worth talking to actually licks stamps in this day and age.
Even if you want to talk to him, you couldn't. He's dead after all.
Okay, so he licked the stamp. Oh wait. How does that explain the entrecline on the rim of the coffee mug? Easy. Like, it wasn't put onto the mug, it was just, he licked it off the stamp, and then he put his lips onto the mug, so the entrecline went onto the mug. If he licked the back of the poison stamp, the poison would get on his tongue, yes. What would then happen if he put the coffee mug to his mouth? Those traces on the mug weren't the killer's doing, it was the other way around. What? The coffee mug didn't poison Mr. Masham. Mr. Masham poisoned the coffee mug himself.
Order, order, order! But this doesn't... does it? Recall if you would. Entrogonine is a slow-acting poison. The poison entered his body when he put the stamp on the envelope. But this time wasn't up until the very moment he licked his lips to that cup of joe.
Nod, 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 nod. Yes, that's right.
You have something to add, Mr. Brosho. Oh, his nose is picking up another scent.
As I believe I mentioned earlier. Well, that's the thing I see. See? After he put his letter in the envelope, Mr. Masham said there's 13's desk drawer for something. Yeah, stamp, a so-called policy stamp. He said that? Really? But you know, I don't seem to remember him ever finding one.
Maybe you just ran out.
Incidentally, we searched the desk drawer at the scene of the crime. There was no stamps, not a single one.
That does pose a problem. How will you prove that the stamp was coated poison? Actually, I'm glad no other stamps were found. Makes proving the stamp he used was poison possible.
Good show, good show. You can't even prove there was a stamp at the scene in the first place.
Well, let's hear what the defense has to say. Where's your evidence that proves the existence of this poison stamp?
It's the frame, right?
Well, that certainly is a cute little frame. And by little, I mean really little.
It was in the victim's desk. Quite empty, as you can see for yourself. I noticed that too during my inspection, so what?
Apparently you weren't as observant as you should have been.
You see, when you saw this frame, it was missing something quite important.
Missing something?
Yes, a pale bluish stain on the inside of the frame. Entrogonine residue. What? Why wasn't I told about this?
The frame is only 2 inches square. The face of the frame is even smaller. Maybe an inch wide at most.
You aren't saying.
Yes, I am, motherfucker. Oh, but I am. Tell me what fits in such a small frame. A commemorative stamp, perhaps. Order, order, order. Poison stamp was in this frame.
Impossible.
Prosecutor Galvin, don't smash my wall.
You little cunt. I will ruin you with my gavel. No, you won't. I will blaze you away with my guitar before you can do that. Why would he put something like that on his desk? Don't tell me he had it there so he could commit suicide if the mood struck. No, can I say something? I had a thought, see?
Well, Mr. Rochon, please stop jittering around like that.
The victim was a forger, right? There's a lot of money in the line of work. Forger forges friends, makes enemies too. End quote.
So the poison stamp might have been a murder weapon aimed at him.
Maybe someone gave it to him? Every time he does this, I always get worried my ball's gonna get damaged.
Wow. 2 poses.
Oh, rich. That's rich. Leave the ridiculous flights of fancy to the Gavinier strong song lyrics, please.
Finally, something we can agree on.
The stamp was a murder weapon nonsense. Murder is a simple business. Who would go to such lengths? Who would go to such lengths? No one.
Oh, I disagree.
Come again?
Recall, if you would, the victim's reclusive lifestyle. Drew Masham hid from the world. He avoided meetings. His only contact with the outside world was the mail. The mail? Now, if you wanted to kill someone you couldn't meet, but you knew read letters, a stamp would be the perfect weapon.
Ridiculous. Where's your proof? I want proof. Show us evidence that this poison stamp was sent.
I might not have evidence, per se. But the things are finally starting to come together.
What is it, Apollo? Your fists are trembling.
I think I know what happened. I don't believe it if I can see it. I think I know how Mr. Michon was killed. Well, fill us in, Mr. Justice. Certain piece of evidence points to the truth, Your Honor. I can show you someone was with the intent to kill sent Mr. Michon to the stamp of death. Is it this? Contains 2 sheets of writing paper. Yeah, send it with the enclosed stamp. So he was telling him to use that specific stamp. Isn't this the envelope, the one from 7 years ago? I mean, maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? Not me. Think about the text from the letter again. There were 2 passages in the envelope. This is page 1. And this is page 2. What if the pages were written by different people? I'm starting to wonder that. I want to draw your attention to one phrase in particular. Send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp within 3 days. The enclosed stamp, Your Honor. Oh! In other words, if I have this straight. The stamp, poison on the stamp, lick, lick, grasp, end quote. Gasp. Now what if he had done exactly as the letter asked?
He would sign the document, put it in the envelope, and put the stamp on it, right? Then he would put it in his letterbox. 15 minutes wouldn't have elapsed between affixing the stamp and mailing the letter. But the clock started ticking, and when the time came, he drew his last breath, and the murder weapon would be taken away from the scene. Quite conveniently, thanks to the postal system. Oh god, what do you want now? Such a splendid imagination you have for a forehead. Let me confirm one thing with you, if I might. So this poison stamp was inside the envelope from 7 years ago. Is that what you'd have us believe?
Well...
It's a little bit of a stretch, but there's a possibility. Yes, a very small possibility. How small, I wonder? A poison stamp in this envelope. Stamp that then became the murder weapon. How do you intend to prove this seeming coincidence? Well...
it was 7 years ago, and we don't even know who sent that letter.
And your answer is silence, I see. Very well. I move to...
What?
It's not nice to throw in Clavio.
Oh! What was that? What was he doing here? I even forgot his name, sorry, but... What was he doing here? Christoph. Hi, Emma.
Well, like my Christoph Gavin impression, did I sound like him?
Not really, I didn't know who it was at first. You should have came up with his name, and then I would have realized and gave him the Torigami voice. Yes, you shouldn't do the Fraulein, Galavia. What's your day job?
Don't you have a crime scene to be looking after, Fraulein detective? Someone had to come dig you out.
Mess.
You know, none of these would have science a little more. You can find out if that stamp was in the envelope, easy.
Gotta go.
But this is all on my side. It's all in the residue.
That's right, the poison detection spray. Produce the red envelope once. You can open it at the authority of the court.
Lovely.
There it is. Whoa, would you look at that?
No mistaking it. That's anthraquinine residue.
I don't believe it. Murder weapon from the past. Now 7 years later, it bears its fangs aloft.
Absolutely outrageous. Tell me why. Why didn't this murder take place 7 years ago?
Well,
There's one possibility. Maybe Mr. Sham figured it out.
Figure what out?
He realized that the person who sent that letter wanted him dead. So he sent his reply with a different stamp.
And put his decisive evidence in a frame. Oh, you're still here.
Can I make a statement here on the record? Aye, spark residue, razor tooth, Breshel, clean the scoop is mine. Drew Misham killed in cold blood. By sender of 7-year-old letter, end quote. No, maybe something more sickening. Star falls after 7-year delay, end quote.
Order. See no room for further argument here. Though I admit, this is all coming as quite a shock. To think that the murder weapon reached his mouth after 7 years. Stamp his ticket straight to afterlife, end quote.
Oh, I think the witness is bad influence on our judge.
I see no need for further debate on this matter. The sender of the letter 7 years ago could hardly have been our defendant.
Apollo!
I think we just won. Very well, the court finds the defendant. Wait, what?
Is the bright future of our legal system.
Prosecutor, Gavin.
A ticket to the afterlife from 7 years ago. Tickets for the Gavinier shows are invalid after 2 weeks.
But it doesn't make sense any other way.
Boggles my mind that so many people haven't noticed this. That's a fatal contradiction in their foreheads claim.
A contradiction?
A poison stamp was placed in this envelope 7 years ago, whereupon it was framed until now. If that's the case, then why would Drew Misham have done what he did?
Emmer explained that he must have realized it was poisoned.
Therein lies the rub. 7 years ago, the forger Drew Misham sensed the trap and put the stamp in a frame. He did not debate this, but this begs the question. Why 7 years later did he use that stamp on the night of the murder? Surely you don't mean to suggest that Mr. Misham simply forgot? He put the murder weapon in a frame on his desk for 7 years and forgot. You expect us to believe he sprang the trap on himself?
Oh boy. Well, I admit this is all quite shocking myself. It does seem highly unlikely that he would fall to the trap.
I mean, there is a way around this. Like, maybe he and the sender of the letter were conspiring, and they wanted, they wanted the letter to say a certain thing. They wanted the case to seem like a certain way, and then he purposely licked the poison to use the stamp. And, like, maybe they're leading us on to somewhere on purpose. I don't know.
That had been sitting on his desk for 7 years.
Apollo,
I don't think we're winning anymore.
I'm glad to see we're all back in the real world now. Welcome back to reality. We've been waiting for you.
Okay, then how do you explain the poison stamp that was in the envelope?
The poison stamp? Where exactly is this poison stamp again? Have you brought it to court for us? I see no proof that such a thing ever existed.
What about the anthraquinine residue, huh?
Oh, I agree, that does seem to be anthraquinine residue. But to her forehead, it's certainly no stamp.
Yeah, but...
even if your precious poison stamp did exist, Drew Misham never would have used it. That is all.
Ugh. I believe we've come to a conclusion, again.
Apollo, were we wrong this whole time?
I can't believe it. The poison traces match up. It can't be a coincidence. I'd like to bring some closure to the issue, sometime this year. Mr. Justice. Yes, Your Honor. Let's review the facts, and see where we stand. 7 years ago, Drew Misham received a red envelope. There were traces of the poison anthraquinine on the document inside that note. Similar traces also found at the crime scene. On this tiny picture frame, the defense has indicated the possibility of a yellow envelope. An envelope that left the scene of the crime with a poison stamp on it.
Yes, but even if this envelope contained a poison stamp, and Drew Misham, knowing this, put it in a frame, he never would have used that stamp.
I'm afraid you're right. Which means there was a fatal flaw in the defense's case. I haven't been on the wrong track this whole time, I'm sure of it. The traces of anthraquinine, the envelope, the frame. and Drew Misham, mysterious death. They're all connected somehow. Well, Mr. Justice, do you have a conclusion for us? The defense stands by its case, Your Honor. We've seen the logical outcome of the evidence makes no sense, which means that one of the clues must be a fake. A fake clue, fascinating. And if we find the fake, your wild fantasies will prove quite reasonable, yeah. The fake clue that's thrown us off the poisonous trail is none other than Drew Misham. A red envelope, the frame. What does it mean by this? The victim was a fake clue? I'm afraid I don't understand. I'll explain. We have an envelope, a frame, and a mug linked by poison. That all makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the victim himself.
Objection!
Congratulations, you've completely lost me. So the fake evidence is none other than the master of fake himself, the forger. It makes a good story, I'll give you that.
The fake clue, fakes, forgeries.
Oh, I know that face. That's the I just had an idea face.
I don't know if I'm right, but I'm going with it anyway. What if our forger is the fake?
Come again.
7 years ago, our forger sniffed a trap and stepped aside. 7 years passed. Now the forger stumbles into the very same trap and dies. Why? That's what I want to know. Because the forger who was killed was a fake.
Here we are again. The victim was a fake.
One forger smelled the trap. One forger fell into the trap. That's two forgers, and one of them is a fake.
Oh! Are you telling me that the girl is like, I don't know, is the real forger or something? And she put the sticker there? And the fake forger is the guy that died, Drew. And he used the sticker thinking it was safe? Is that what we're saying?
So you're telling us that Drew Misham, the victim, was a fake.
Well, if he was the fake, who was the real forger? You'd better not be claiming there was some kind of switcheroo.
I'm afraid you're gonna have to back up your story. Mr. Justice, show us just who the real Drew Misham is. Drew Misham wasn't the real forger. There's only one other person it could have been. Understood, Your Honor. Forger Drew Misham was himself a forgery. The real forger was...
Disco?
There can only be one explanation, really. The real identity of the forger known as Drew Misham is none other than his only daughter, Vera Misham. Order. Mr. Justice is going out on a limb even for you. I kinda agree. I mean, Vera, forger. Just consider it before you write it off entirely. If you look at the paintings in the studio, one fact becomes quite clear. Forgery has been taking place in the studio for quite some time. The forger wasn't caught in the trap 7 years ago. This can only mean that the one who was caught in the trap wasn't the forger. Well, actually, that does make certain kind of sense. One more thing. Only 2 sets of fingerprints were found in the forger's studio. Drew Misham's and Vera Misham's. If we know that Drew Misham wasn't the forger, that leaves only one possibility by the process of elimination. The forger was Vera Misham. Well...
Fascinating.
Vera Misham, you've been paying attention to the trial so far.
Let's just ask her and be done with it, shall we? Who are you? Who is the forger, Drew Misham?
Was that an expression of emotion I saw on her face? She's staring holes into Prosecutor Gavin's face.
I'm used to being stared at by Frauleins, believe me. Though they usually talk to me too. Tell us, were you the one who forged those works of art? Yes.
So, the forger Drew Misham is you?
Yes, it was me. What the hell is that face?
What's that face meant to be? What? What? The coal was in an uproar and it wasn't coming down. We had to break for a 10-minute recess. Oh boy. October 8, 1:24 p.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 6.
Okay, so where exactly does this leave us, Apollo?
Well, the Drew Masham who was killed wasn't Drew Masham the forger, basically.
Huh? Well then who was he?
Well, he was actually doing her nails? So you really made those forgeries?
Yes. For father. I know it was wrong. Could you tell us how it happened? My father was a painter. I loved painting ever since I was a child. One day father saw it in me. He saw that I had the talent. Talent for making forgeries? How should I say it? It was not only paintings I made. Given the materials, I could make anything.
Anything?
Father was so proud, and I so happy. But, in the end, I was making those
forgeries.
I've never had a good constitution, nor personality. I know very little of the world outside my door. Now, because of me, Father is... Do you know about this red envelope? I remember that envelope. It was some time ago.
So you were already you're already creating your works back then?
I started when I was only 12 years old.
So the one who figured out the stamp was poison, that was. Okay, how old is she now? Whoops. 19. Wow, that was 7 years ago. Mr. Justice, time to go over, please! Right, out of time, goddammit.
Wait, Vera, just one more thing, please. Those 3 paintings in the studio. I painted those as part of my work. Right. See, we checked them out and we saw what was underneath. We saw the rough sketches underneath the 3 finished paintings. I see. Mr. Justice.
Yes.
Father, he knew of you. Of both of you. Your late
father.
He was watching, gathering information. All about the Wright & Co. law officers. But lately we're not doing just law. Yes, you do tricks, gags to amuse and play piano. I'm starting to wonder, why did it change into that? Was that to avert attention, maybe? Well, they're not really gags. Yet when Father heard you had resumed the legal business, how pleased he was. Who was Miss Masham?
How am I supposed to know?
Well, if he was Daddy's daddy, judging from the relative ages involved, I'd say it's highly unlikely.
Oh, that was Paula talking. Things are already confusing enough with all these daddies running around. We know that the victim's daughter, Vera, was the forger. What does this mean for the case? Guess we're about to find out. October 8, 1:36 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 3! Court's now back in session! Vera seems pretty tense. She's practically chewing her fingernails clean off.
Perhaps you could begin by telling us how it all worked. How did you set up with this Drew Masham forger persona?
There's that stare again. She's drilling more holes into his head.
I know it's hard for you, but hey, he's a handsome guy.
I'm starting to think she's not looking at them because of that. If this was 7 years ago, maybe she knows Clavia from somewhere. Like, maybe she was connected to Phoenix's case. What's hard? Very well, miss, if you would. Did you really make those detestable forgeries?
Perhaps you'd rather answer my question. Were you the one who painted the painting? The remarkably similar one. Ah, yes. I painted it, yes. Father praised me quite highly for it.
So, she was the one who made the forgeries.
Yet she did not wish to reveal the truth of their operation. So the victim was a stand-in, a decoy. To the world at large, he was the forger, not her. I've done a bad thing. Haven't I? Regardless, we need a little more information. About, for instance, this. You haven't seen this before, ja? Yes. It was in the desk drawer.
Very well, you may proceed with your testimony. Tell us everything you know about this envelope. Alright. The red envelope.
I created things and Father sold them. This envelope came after my first work. That was other than a painting. Father handled the deal, all of it. I received the stamp that was in that envelope. It was after that job that we moved to the current studio.
There certainly was much of a great testimony in your interest in your testimony.
Not that the witness realizes it.
Very well, please begin the cross-examination. Right, okay. I need more information about this forger. This Drew Misham. Boom.
I created things and Father sold them.
Hold it! So, the things you were making, you mean paintings identical to other paintings, right?
The closer they were, the happier Father was. I was happy too.
Still, you're quite young now. When did you begin work?
My first painting sold when I was 12.
Her Honor, she had no idea what she was doing when it was illegal.
Easy there, little attorney. You're not here to defend her for the crime of forgery.
True. Please tell us more about this envelope. This envelope that may very well have killed your father.
Alright. This envelope came after my first work that was other than a painting.
By other than a painting, you mean you'd only done paintings up to that point?
Yes. But Father had a realization. He noticed my talent. Extended to making things other than paintings.
For instance?
For instance, a letter someone had written. Or a fingerprint left upon a cup. Or a signature on a document, a seal upon a letter.
None of this makes us sound very innocent at all. And the
100,000 promised in this letter was the start. The beginnings of a new industry of Drew Misham.
A new industry?
The creations of items to be used in criminal proceedings. Forging evidence, in other words.
Uh-oh. Father handled the deal, all of it. So, you didn't know how the things you were making were being used?
I enjoy painting very much. I think I understand. The Fraulein has lived in an unusual world.
Can you tell us what happened to the papers that were in this envelope?
Father signed them and sent them back, I believe.
Did he follow the instructions? Send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp. This is a rather important matter. Give your answer some thought.
Okay. I received the stamp that was in the envelope.
What do you mean you received it?
Did I do something wrong?
You didn't use the stamp because it was dangerous, correct? Deadly poison in the back. Antraquinine.
A moment, Herr Forehead. You cannot force an answer upon the witness. Now then, perhaps, you would tell me, Fräulein Vora, why did you receive the stamp?
Something wrong.
It was beautiful.
Oh, you mean it was one of those commemorative stamps?
Yes, I think it was
So you didn't know about the poison? Oh. I guess not.
So the trap failed by chance, by mistake, thanks to this commemorative stamp.
Quite the close call.
It was after that job that we moved to the current studio.
You mean you moved to where the current studio is?
Yes, we saw very few people there. I began drawing picture books.
The single job had tied them to the criminal underworld.
The thing Mr. Misham wished to reduce their visibility in the world in the world at large. When we had to meet for some reason, Father posed as the creator of the work.
So that was the real essence of the artist Drew Misham. You did the work and he supplied the face. So, you really didn't know anything, did you? You had no idea how much danger you were in.
Apparently not.
Without this commemorative stamp, could you tell us more about it?
It was very pretty, and, more than that,
Yes.
it was a picture of people I liked at the time.
This is something new.
Apparently, we've got some cross-examination yet ahead of us. If you would be so kind as to continue your testimony, Fraulein. This time was a picture of my favorite magicians, so I kept it.
Oh!
This?
Oh. Those magicians you liked. Was it this bunch?
Apollo, they're not a bunch.
I see. Still, I have to wonder, why include a commemorative stamp like that in a business letter? Good question.
Well, pretty stamps are always better, and you can't beat Troop Grammari.
Well, the whole murder plan was a failure because of it. Ironic, don't you think? The prosecutor Gavin.
Oh, she probably thought it was like a picture or something, and put it in a frame so she could look at it whenever.
Prosecutor Gavin. What's wrong with him?
Grammari.
What's with Gavin?
What I asked is one question of the witness. In your testimony just now, you stated this was your first work that was other than a painting.
Oh.
Please tell me, what exactly did you make? Can I ask what? No, answer the question. Now!
Prosecutor Gavin. You're usually not the one whose volume concerns me.
Yes, it is unbecoming of me, I apologize. But, I must know, please, Miss Misham, please tell me. It was a book. A single page. In a book. A book. Please be more specific. It was a handwritten book. Like a diary.
Oh? Yeah, I don't know! What the hell? Any context?
What's wrong with Miss Prosecutor Gavin? He looks like he just saw a ghost. Mr. Misham, this book. Was there a picture of a silk hat on the back cover, yes or no? How? How did you know?
Prosecutor Gavin, the defendant is answering all of your questions. Stop badgering her.
He's told you nothing, has he? Your soiled, sullied mentor, nothing.
Sullied who?
Phoenix Wright. Who else? Daddy, he never told you about the trial 7 years ago. About how we came to lose his attorney's badge. It was a certain piece of evidence that decided his fate, you know. A certain diary. On the back it bore the mark of a silk hat.
Wait, what? The reason he lost his job was because of that book. What? Phoenix Wright tossed his out of the profession by false evidence? And the forgery made that evidence? Is this girl standing right in front of me? Vera, you must tell us. The evidence you made was used in the trial 7 years ago. Who else drew Masham you to forge evidence? For all of your sakes, who was it?
We only met once.
You met the client. Well, who was it?
It was...
It was 7 years ago, right?
What's going on? She's staring at Prosecutor Gavin's face again.
Yes, what? Is there something about me?
I remember clearly. I remember who gave me the book. The diary.
Who was it? What? Did she poison herself? The devil. Vera Masham, condition unconscious. Examiner's diagnosis: acute atrocanine poisoning. This ends the recording for the trial of the murder of Drew Masham. Vera Masham was during the trial poisoned by an unknown assailant. The dosage was just under the lethal amount, sparing the defendant's life. She's currently in intensive care and is not to be disturbed by it for any reason. A very simple case at first glance, till it finally began to show its true color. The long road to the truth takes us to the record of another trial. In some ways, that was the starting point of it all. Whoa! Yes, baby, I'm in my new suit! Oh, it's my old one, actually. And that is where we must go. Cute Trucy! Defend the whole truth. Oh my god. It looks like Pearl. Oh my god, if it is Pearl, that'd be crazy. Oh my god, though, what the hell? I didn't expect that. Who poisoned her? What the hell? Oh boy. This is getting too psycho for me. Otherwise, I need a break. So, I'm gonna continue this later. My voice hurts. God damn.